Hey everybody, another episode of On the Paint Table. It's my weekly show where you see what I got done, what I'm working on, and what is coming up. So, as you've probably seen in a couple episodes of different games, I painted up some Merrick's Militia for Battletech to face down Jay's Snords Irregulars, as well as some Cowboys for Dead by Lead. Now on top of that, I got some other Throwback Thursday projects I'm working on, and a few other upcoming things that I want some help on. So, let's see what got done and what is coming up. So to kick things off, here is my suburban lance. I did this for the Merrick's Militia, which means I had to change out one of the urban lance models because you can't have an urban lance without having an urban mech in it. I also have a Raven, a Victor, and then last but not least, this guy is is an enforcer? Yeah, it's an enforcer, not a thug. I want to call him a thug, but he's an enforcer. I painted up all these in Merrick's Militia colors, which are basically like a purple, like almost like a dark purple. So I used an Imperial Hobbies like purple base tone through my airbrush, and then went through and did all the red and blue. This is all Imperial Hobbies with the exception of the metallics I use scale 75 for. So they were airbrushed, then all of the detail colors added on, which is the metallics, the red, and the blue as like a base coat. And I did some lining with a little bit of Nuln Oil from Citadel. Then I went back and did highlights. I did trash metal for the metallics on these guys. I did a bit of green for all the lenses. Again, it's an Imperial Hobbies like verdigris green, and then I went through and highlighted everything. So for the reds, it was the original dark red, like a fire engine red, blended up with some additional color. I think I used like almost like an orange through there, and then I used white into the greens to add that highlight and a little bit of like point of reflection, and that was it. Those of them finished up. I went and hand painted some of the insignias, and that was the Suburban Lance. Then it was the first of my two battle lances. This is like a mishmash of different units that I had. So I wanted a Marauder because I just love the Marauder miniature. A Trebuchet because I'd never used one. Jay had used them against me multiple times, but I never actually used a Trebuchet myself. And I decided I wanted to have one, so I painted it up. A Griffin because I had an extra Griffin from one of the other boxes I'd done, as well as a Jenner. And this gave me like a nice complement of like, it's just sort of like medium tonnage mechs to have as my first battle lance. And then after that, I was like, let's do a bigger battle lance. And so then I went to some heavier stuff. So this is another battle lance. I have a Hatchet Man, not an Axe Man, as I realized later on. A Centurion, a Banshee, and a Grasshopper. They're not the greatest mechs. The Banshee is like laughably undergunned for its tonnage, which I discovered in game. But they were all models I hadn't painted yet, and I wanted to make sure that my battle lances were just stuff that was different. Also, because it was militia, it felt like having like not suboptimal mechs, but mechs that fit the time frame I was doing. So it was around 30-25, and we're just sort of like, well, what would you have if you were a militia? If you were, you know, being supplied by the lowest bidder, what would your equipment look like? And this kind of fit, so it was really fun to come up with these two battle lances and a suburban lance, because they felt like they would be the things sent to like repel invaders, which is of course what the Snords Irregulars basically always are. And so that gave me about 350 points altogether of the militia. I was really happy with them. I'll be honest, like it was fun to paint them. It was fun to paint a different kind of color scheme for Battletech as well. And yeah, I'm going to add one more unit to them probably at some point just to have some new models for them when we keep playing our regulars games. But it meant 12 models painted, and I got to take a break and paint some Battletech. Last but not least, we have the Justify. These are my Cowboys that I painted up for Dead by Lead from Blaster Volume 5, which you saw the Let's Play for this week. We've got Doc Givens right there in his white cowboy hat, ready to quick draw down on people. We got his best friend Boyd Crowder, and then last but not least we have Art, his former boss, who's now, you know, joined the posse, if you will. Now these are all plastics from Great Escape Games, and I'll show you the frame for them in a second. You get basically 5 Cowboys per frame, and these are the 3 that I started off with. Basically just using the parts that fit my theme. So like for instance, Boyd's got some dynamite there on his belt because, you know, that's how Boyd do. He likes exploding things. I put these on, they have like built-in bases, but I put these on some 28.5 mil bases. It's like, they're a little bit bigger than 25, and these were kind of chunkier models, so it sort of fit them from GW. And then they're all hard styrene plastic, so it all merged together really well. The bases are done with a bit of Sterling Battlemire, and then some, I think they're just Highland Tufts from Army Painter to finish them off. They were primed with just Rust-Oleum, I think it's called Dark Charcoal, 2-in-1 paint plus primer, and then painted with, I think, just a combination of like Citadel and Yeah, like whatever was in my paint bucket. Like it's hard to give a paint guide for these because there isn't really one. It was just whatever was in my paint box at the time. So it's like a combination of Vallejo, Citadel, and Scale 75 paints. Everything was just base coated. The metallics are Scale 75 black metal. I believe I used Thunderhawk blue for like the blue jeans and stuff like that. And then I think it's uniform and leather brown from Vallejo for all of the clothing, like the chaps on Rail in there, on Doc Gibbons, and the coat on Art. But I wanted to try out all the models options, so I did like a pistol guy, a shotgun and bombs guy, and a dude with a repeating rifle. And I'm super happy with how they turned out. It was super cool to play like a skirmish cowboy game and get to use these 5 models. Jay had a bunch of these frames, and he gave me one. I'm going to kit bash some more stuff, but you'll see that in the coming up. So here's my leftovers from the Great Escape Game Sprue, and I've also got a Perry Miniature Revolutionary War plastics frame here that I picked up for like sludge turnip games. I really just want the horses out of because they're period appropriate. So I have 2 models left on here I can build. You can see there's a crouching pose set of legs right here, and also kind of like a running dashing one. And I'm going to use this to round out my gang. So I only started with 2 models when I started the campaign, but this will let me have like a couple more models to go with. And as soon as I saw this on the frame, you actually got like a cactus and like spools of rope and stuff, which will be great to decorate these horses with. You're going to have, and what's cool is the additional heads and arms I'll probably use on these torsos. So I'm going to cut the heads off so they match a little bit more in the arms and make some mounted guys to go with my dudes on foot. I forgot I had these. I got a bunch of Pegasus Hobbies museum scale cactuses that I really want to make because there's one little cactus on this frame that I'd forgotten that these existed and were in the warehouse, actually in my stuff. And I was like, the one thing that my little sort of tombstone-y town terrain set doesn't have is a lot of greenery that's appropriate for the area. I was like, I have something for this. What I might do with these to paint them is I'll clip off a bunch of the bases and paint those separately. And then I'll attach the cactuses and probably just wash them with like a dark green wash. And then put them all on like larger, like flat bases, like maybe some, I have a bunch of like, MDF like circles and stuff. And I'll make like clumps of these things that I can have around, just to have a little bit of greenery. They'll be super fast to build, but I'm excited I have them because I'd forgotten about them. I think from the last Cowboy project, we just didn't do them. Like they got left in a box and put aside. So I'm stoked to make some new terrain for this project when we get back to playing more Cowboy games. Because we do want to get back to a whole bunch of them, and you guys seem to really enjoy our stupid Cowboy nonsense. So we'll make some terrain stuff to go with it. So as far as old school stuff goes, I also this week cleaned, assembled, and undercoated with some Mephiston Red Citadel spray 4 more models for my Kells Hounds, my OG Kells Hounds. So these are the plastic models from way back from FASA. And the reason I actually do is I need this Wasp and this Warhammer for a project that I'll explain in a minute. But I already have 2 lances of these painted. You can see just for the example, my Griffin 1N is all done up, and he's the original series plastics as well from back then. Because if we're gonna do period Battletech stuff, I feel like it kind of behooves me to use these miniatures so you guys can see them. And so I can try and do them justice, give them modern paint jobs, right? Like paint them up really nicely and see how they look. And I'll be honest, these plastics really hold up. I really like this Griffin. I think it looks fantastic. So I have a Warhammer, a Wasp, a Stinger, and a Phoenix Hawk. It's literally the Robotech group, right? So, which I think is very funny. These 3 are basically all, like if you look at them, they're all Veritech fighters. Like he even has like a plane in his chest, like these 2 do. They're not hiding or fooling anybody. So I'm going to be painting those up this week. These 4, because I need these 2 at least for a project, and I'll explain that project right now. So I scrounged online and eventually on eBay managed to find 4 out of 6 of the Nova Battletech books. And these are a fascinating anachronism that I want to do a Throwback Thursday on, and I wanted to have models for. So I actually gave Jay a period Locust and a period Rifleman, and I'm painting up the Wasp and the Warhammer so that we can play with these. What these are is very simple, almost like computer programs. And you play with them and there's charts, and we're going to use the models to track what's happening, but so you can visualize it all. But we're going to use these books to fight each other. And these were game books where if you and your friend owned like at least 2, one of you would pilot one of these mechs. You would take your little mech sheet, right, with all your stats and stuff on it. And then you would, sit in the back of the car going to Disneyland. You would basically have a little simulated battle. And you would see what was happening because your dashboard was in pictures in the book. So I'm really excited about this. This is like a perfect Throwback Thursday opportunity. There was a bunch of other versions of these games too. There was a fantasy one. There was also one called Ace of Aces, which was a Air Combat World War I one. But we're gonna use the period miniatures and play with these things and do a couple of, like, a let's play. I'll do a GMG review of the books so you can check them out, and I'll bring you this. This is a real anachronism. This is a real, like, out of time. You're gonna feel the age of these books. It's incredible the lengths we went to like populate our imaginations with science fiction stuff back then. But these Nova books are great examples, and because the Battletech stuff is so fun to paint, this was a good tie-in. And so last but not least, that led me here to another series of plastic miniatures and a new project, because the Kellshound stuff, I do have a few miniatures that I need to still scrounge for them. There's a Locust in that same plastic, as well as a Marauder that they don't survive very well. I have pieces of a few I'm going to try and cobble together to make that a reinforced company at some point, but I'm sort of slowed down now by the fact that acquiring the parts is hard. And that means that I want to actually move on to the same era as Clan Invasion, and that means Plastek and CityTech. Now, this is a different plastic. It is a harder plastic, and the models are their own unique sculpts as opposed to being casts of the original metals, which is what the previous iteration were. I've got two lances here that I'm going to do of Inner Sphere stuff. There's a Locust, Panther, I think it's a Panther, not a Puma, no, because that's a clan mech. A Catapult and a Valkyrie in the one lance. It's like a fire support lance or a recon lance with a fire support mech. And then the other one's more of a battle mech, which has a Wolfhound, a Trebuchet, an Atlas, I'll often refer to as the Fatless because he's so huge, and a Hunchback in it. And these are going to fight the clan mechs, which I haven't cleaned up and primed yet, from the same era. But I really want your help, Battletech lore enthusiasts, as to what would be sort of like the archetypical Inner Sphere, like, force that I would paint up in these models. What would be the vanguard of the invasion? I'm thinking Clan Wolf, but I've already painted Clan Wolf for the clan stuff, so I kind of don't want to go up against the Inner Sphere and who would be part of it. So give me some suggestions in the comments as to who you think these two lances should be painted up as, because it's going to end up being basically 5 clan mechs against these 8 mechs. And we'll probably play Alpha Strike with them, and that should give us like a roughly 300-point game, I'm hoping, when it's all sort of like teched out and pointed out. So this is one of my other throwback projects. I really wanted to do this Clan Invasion era plastics from back then. I'm trying to get all the plastic mechs from this era painted. And the Kellshounds will be the mercenary company for the OG stuff, and then hopefully I can find the right sort of appropriate colors for these guys. Give me some suggestions for both the clan stuff and this Inner Sphere Paralances, and I'll do my best to make it happen. Now, also adding to the pile of stuff going on eBay, I'm getting rid of all this Necron stuff. It doesn't fit the color scheme for my army anymore. So I'm putting up, and it needs the space. We got to get this warehouse emptied. So you can check out all the individual listings. There's some Wraiths. I've got a Doom Scythe, a couple Night Scythes, a Command Barge, a Shard of the Deceiver, and I got like a Cryptek. I think he'd still be usable as a Cryptek, probably. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. It's going up, so check these guys out. Link is in the description, as always. Now, one of the other things I'm selling off, and this might come as a shock to some people, is a bunch of my Mordheim stuff. Mostly because it hasn't come out of the box in a long time, and if I do more Mordheim, I really just want to paint new models again. This one's going to be going for quite a pretty penny because it's all converted. Everything in here is out of production, and these models are very nicely painted. So I decided this was one of the things I was going to part with. They've all got textured bases. They're all Citadel like kit bashes and conversions. So we have Ahab, my Witch Hunter captain. We got 3 Witch Hunters over here, 2 with crossbows, 1 with a double-handed weapon, a couple of flagellants, including 1 with a big burning hat, which is the one I would have become the hero if this lad's got talent. We got the Lamplighters back here, all with clubs, and then we got some hounds made from Orion's hounds, these big, beautiful moor hounds. Yeah, and they're gonna be the like they're gonna be probably a little bit more than I would normally ask for painted stuff when I'm just trying to dump models out of here. But I need space. So this is one of the Mordheim warbands that's gonna be up this week. You can check it on my eBay, and yeah, there it is. My Dwarf Treasure Hunters are also gonna go up for grabs. They've got 2 Thunderers, a Troll Slayer, a couple Beardlings, all converted from that generation's Dwarf Plastics, an Engineer, and of course a Dwarf like Noble Treasure Hunter. Yeah, same kind of like texture bases, lots of conversions, lots of sculpting. I think I actually sculpted most of this Troll Slayer, actually. Now that I think about it, I think he's got a flagellant head that I sculpted the vast majority of him on very long time ago. So it's very much like in keeping with the plastics. It's not like a modern dwarf. It's more like these old dwarfs. Yeah, and I'm going in out of focus here. And they need to go because again, I'm gonna do probably metal or 5th edition dwarves if I do this again, and I want to make the room. I completely forgot there was an extra guy. I forgot it. There's a dude with an extra guy with a double-handed weapon there. So there's actually 9 models in this warband. And then finally, it's my Reichlanders. We've got a whole Reichlander warband here. We got 2 champions, one with a flail, one with a double-handed weapon. My captain here with like pistol. He's got a brace of pistols and a sword. 2 young bloods, one with a bow and one with a halberd. And then I've got 3 crossbowmen because you have to have guns. You're playing Reichlanders. And the Duelists, which is 4 guys, henchmen with swords and daggers, which eventually just become 2 swords, or you can use them as swords and bucklers. So this is, again, modern Empire Plastics, well, modern to the end of 8th, I guess, all converted up into a beautiful Mordheim warband. Again, Mordheim doesn't actually care if you're using round bases or not. The bases are relevant as long as you can mark your facing as being the shoulders or wherever they're facing, and I've played a ton of games with these guys. If I do redo my Reichlanders, I'll probably do them with the classic plastics and metals. So yeah, these guys are up too. So 3 Mordheim warbands up for grabs this week. So there we go, 15 models painted in the last couple weeks, apart from all the walls that got painted and other stuff that got painted. If you guys haven't noticed, I'm actually recording all this green screen stuff, and here I'll show you, out in the warehouse now. So if it sounds a little bit weird, it's because I have had this green screen stand forever, but I'm actually just finally using it because I have the space. It didn't fit in the small office. And that means I've relocated back out to here to do all the green screen work, except for the review you also saw today, which I built a green screen stand, which I think I kept the footage for, pretty sure, for all this over here, which I'll give you a little bit of backstage pass. All this lighting and stuff that's in this corner back here. So things are coming along, which is pretty cool. I'll be honest, it's been nice to be able to be in the front office. You've watched some videos in there and stuff as well. And magic, we go back to on the green screen and things look pretty normal, I guess. The sound is a bit hollow though. So this is, when you guys did your first tour around the studio, you probably noticed, right, I mentioned that the audio was not going to be okay in the big warehouse space. And even as full of stuff as it is now, there's still tons of bounce just because the ceilings are so high and has a hard floor. So this is phase 3 that I'm standing in right now. Right now it's just a green screen, but this whole corner is what needs to get framed out. And if you guys really want to see something, is this over here. Let me give you a little bit of a sneak peek down here. This is the game table. This is what I've been playing on for 8 years, and it's currently disassembled and sitting on the floor. So everything's being done in the small office, and this is going to get repainted and turned into like something. You can see, whoa, there it is. It's all taken apart. Jay helped me make this. Jason DeRoche helped me make this. Geez, 8 years ago now? Yeah, probably about 8 years ago now. So let's just tighten this back up. So yeah, this is going to be, and I'll just snap this back on to, come on. I have 3 of these remotes at home, and I keep forgetting to bring them back here. It's going to get put on casters and then rolled out here so that when this whole area is done being renovated, and I've got a frame basically with a drop ceiling on top of me that has audio acoustic paneling on it so it doesn't bounce the audio everywhere, and a big rug on the ground, you won't hear this echo that you hear right now. So anyway, that's phase 3. Got to get everything out of the small office still, hopefully this weekend. Today, as you're hearing this or watching this, Chase is helping me get all the bookcases out of there, get the rug out. I've managed to clean the floor, which was a nightmare because the rug had been on there for so long. It had like slightly melted to the floor. And then get all those gaming mats out of here as well. So this corner needs to get cleared. This folding table needs to go away. This table that I want to strip, and it's going to be my desk in the small office. I want to strip and refinish it. Also needs to get done, and then I can start work on this back here. So yeah, go buy something on eBay because it's going to pay for getting this space not sounding like I'm at the bottom of a well while I'm talking to you guys. So thanks for watching. We'll see more on the paint table if I paint something next week, which I hopefully will. Until then, Hamash, happy working.